The first couple of transactions that I really started to work on the buying side with happened to be previous clients of mine that I had DJ'd their wedding. They saw all these things that I was doing, getting into real estate, so they already felt comfortable with me. All good? All gooch. Cool. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Closing with Corey podcast, episode number 20. I had a conversation actually with the guy behind the camera last week that I was here, or last time that I was recording, just as far as some ideas. And I want to be able to keep, the content that I make in my podcast and the content that I deliver, something that can be digested by everybody, depending on if you're getting a whole bunch of great real estate knowledge or some knowledge about me. So I figured, going off our conversation, I wanted to talk a little bit as far as how I got into the world of real estate. I've had this conversation with a ton of buyers and sellers and people and just in passing, but I never really put it onto a video to where it could be something that I have to be able to put out there. So let's kind of go through how I got into this business. It was back in 2014. I was working at a DJ company, Elite Sound Entertainment, out of Saddlebrook. Shout out to my old boss, Johnny Buds. It was a great job. I always loved music. I was DJing since I was probably about 12 years old. So it was a way for me to transition into, I guess, like the clubs and bars atmosphere into a more of a structured style of working with brides and grooms. So I started out doing production, led into being a head DJ MC, which was fantastic. While I was working there, I was working with a good friend of mine who I've had on the podcast, Jay Gumnitz. And during the time around 2000, I think 13, 14, he had just got into real estate a few years back, but he was picking up a lot of traction. If you saw the podcast with him, you understand that he's someone who very, very quickly kind of dives into things and just completely just like taking over that aspect of whatever it is that he's doing. So he was very quickly probably the top guy that was requested at the DJ company. And then, as you can see, became very, very successful in real estate. So he said to me, I think that this could be something that you could do very, very well in, just from my work ethic, from my personality, from being able to work with people. My stepfather owns a mortgage company, and I originally had thought about getting into mortgages. I actually went to mortgage school, I guess, I don't know, whatever it's called, and I completed the entire course, got to the point of riding with a very, very successful mortgage lender who I actually, still do some deals with to this day. And ultimately, not for any other reason, just the mortgage process didn't connect with me in a certain way. Towards the later years that I was working with the DJ company, I actually led into the sales aspect of it. So I was being interviewed by brides and grooms, kind of being told what they want, what they're looking for, and just that whole process of quote unquote sales is just really getting to know somebody, really getting comfortable to make sure that that person that they're going to choose to DJ one of the biggest nights of their life, that they feel very comfortable with and they feel very confident in, that they'll be able to deliver exactly what it is that they're looking for. Later on down the road, I think that translates very well into real estate, because same thing, these buyers and sellers are meeting with me to basically interview me to see if that they're going to be most comfortable and confident in me with the biggest purchase of their life. So it kind of went hand in hand. I think probably about the March of 2014, I decided to just say, hey, I'm going to get into the real estate school. I'm going to do the 2.5-week course, get it going really quickly, get my license. I went to the Weichert School of Real Estate in Bridgewater that I don't think is there anymore. But it was good to be able to be in person. The instructor was fantastic. I learned a lot. And for all of the real estate agents out there, you understand that basically everything that you're learning in that course translates a little bit differently into the real world. All of those things you take with you and you act by the code of ethics and all these things that you're supposed to be doing, but it doesn't exactly translate one-to-one once you're in these real life situations. And there's a lot of different X factors when it comes to that. So, I got my license. I joined Keller Williams in Basking Ridge. great company. And I kind of just started doing this one-on-one to where I was DJing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday as well too for my weddings. Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays are the day that you meet with clients. You go to open houses. You show different things. So it was really tough to balance both, because then I was trying to almost overcompensate on not being available from Thursday to Sunday and trying to do Monday to Wednesday. And then throughout the entire week, I was going into Keller Williams, and I was just trying to build up my database. I was trying to build up my client base, and just get an idea of what was going on. So starting out in real estate, it's a lot of promoting yourself, and it's a lot of just letting people know, hey, I'm in this business. Because for the most time, everyone saw me, and they saw me as like, oh, that's Corey. That's the DJ MC that works for this company. Sometimes he does clubs, sometimes he does, bars, whatever. But nobody knew me in the sense of like, oh, he's also a real estate agent, just because I was never promoting myself. Everything that I was promoting social media wise, when I saw people, was always geared and based off of DJing. So once I got my license, once I joined Keller Williams, they have a great training program to where they work with new agents. They kind of get them an idea and a system and a structure in mind, just as far as gaining clients, being able to have a good outreach, and kind of what to do. So the best piece of advice that I got was actually from Jay himself. At the time in 2014, Facebook was still the main social media platform. It was where everybody was still going. Everybody still was their main presence was on Facebook. Instagram wasn't as big as it is right now. There wasn't, I don't think, Snapchat. There wasn't TikTok, any of that type of stuff. What I did was I went through my entire Facebook friends list at that time. I think I probably had maybe about like 4,000 friends just that have accumulated over the years. That was my main Facebook from when I first started Facebook. And I sent out a personalized message to every single person on my Facebook. Again, this was all Jay's idea. This wasn't my idea. Basically just saying, hey, so-and-so, I made sure that I didn't want to have it be generic to where it was just a copy and paste for every single person, because then I feel like it wasn't going to be authentic. They were going to see that and just be like, oh, this guy's just throwing out whatever. But I just said, hey, so-and-so, just want to let you know, hope all is well. If there was something like, that I wanted to bring up. And then I said, I've gotten into real estate, and, if you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell, or if you yourself, please let me know. And also I asked them for their email address just to be able to be put onto one of my campaigns, just to kind of keep in touch, and to kind of just, again, just let them know that I don't just DJ now. I'm also doing real estate. So I was trying to very slowly and gradually. I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. I knew that it wasn't going to happen, in a week, in a month. But eventually, I wanted to be looked at as, not so much of Corey Fandel, the DJ MC, but eventually Corey Fandel, the real estate agent. And I would say, looking back on it in hindsight, that probably took about 3 years, 3 or 4 years, to where people fully embraced me as a real estate agent, and more so, then they would ask me like, "Oh, are you still DJing?" So if you're in another field and you're trying to get into this field in particular, that time frame is kind of to be expected, is kind of something that should be expected, just because people are so used to the perception of what you're putting out there based off of what you're currently in. So I started just doing open houses, as many as I possibly could. Obviously, they weren't my listing. So whether I had to shadow certain agents just to be able to learn a little bit and pick up on certain things that they would do, and certain things that I personally liked that they did, some things that maybe didn't really kind of mesh well with my style, my personality. So I was like, okay, well, that's how they approach someone coming in. Here's kind of how I would, but also taking into consideration that these people that I was working with were very successful. So still trying to, pick up some stuff. So a mixture between reaching out to everybody on social media, and a mixture between doing my open houses, and just trying to be involved with as much stuff as possible. I did not say no to anything. So if an agent needed me to go, assist them them in a showing, even though it was just being a showing just for another buyer. Sure, they needed me to sit for an inspection. Absolutely. Open houses. Definitely, can you pick up this? Can you drop all this? I did as much as I can do just to be able to start really knowing all of the ins and outs when it came down to this business. And those are all the things that ultimately helped me grow as an agent, because I'm a very much of a hands-on learner. And like if I do something and if I do it, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, that's how I learn. I can't really read something or watch something and then just pick on it automatically. My client base started to grow from all the emails that I was getting. That was becoming something that started generating, more and more conversations. So it started out with, 10 emails, and then it went to 100 emails. And then I worked all the way up to probably about 2,000 emails over the course of about 3 years or so. But this way now it was something that I didn't even have to think of. I had all these emails set up on this database. They were getting sent out emails, and then once in a while they were, reaching out to me just to be able to translate that into a conversation of either buying or selling. The other thing too is that I worked in this industry that was a great transition into real estate, because I was DJing these people's weddings, which is again one of the biggest nights of their life, and then typically, sometime after the wedding, whether it's a month or a year or 2 years, they're going to be looking to purchase a home. So the first couple of transactions that I really started to work on the buying side with happened to be previous clients of mine that I had DJ'd their wedding, and then they saw me on social media. They saw all these things that I was doing, getting into real estate, so they already felt comfortable with me. And as you know, in any type of business, if you have a referral or someone that you've worked with or a previous client, those are the best ones, because, everyone's already comfortable going into it, and everyone kind of has an idea of what to expect. It's a lot easier, realistically, on the other side, because there's already some sort of trust that's already been built and established. So my first few transactions were with previous clients of the weddings that I had DJ'd, along with meeting a whole bunch of people, doing these open houses, doing these events. And I think that probably about 2 years in is when I started seeing that I was starting to really pick up some traction, and I started to really understand things a bit. I started to really, truly understand the conversations. To me, that was the biggest shift, was when I was able to have any type of conversation with any buyer or seller, because at that point I was a lot more knowledgeable. When I first had started, there was a lot of, hey, let me get back to you, and then having to either research it, having to call Jay. I can only imagine how many times I called him in the first year that I was in this business, and other people that I had trusted to be able to get those answers. And then after a while, it came to where it was just so natural for me, because I've already had those conversations. I knew what to expect. I knew what these first time buyers were going to ask. I knew what these sellers were going to be asking me. So I knew that there was already like a database of all these answers that I had, ready to go on deck, which is really just from me doing the repetitions. After all that, things, like I said, probably right after the second year, going into about 2.5 years is where I think like the real love came into place, because it's going to be hard for me to say that I fell head over heels in love with real estate my first 6 months to a year, just because I wasn't fully invested in it. I was still probably 95% the DJ company and 5% real estate. And I would say about 2 years into it, I was probably about 25% the DJ company, 75% real estate. And that's when I really, really developed that passion, and I really just developed that love. And after that second year, that's when I decided to kind of go all in. And, I started to slowly book less and less weddings, and I started to just invest so much of my time, so much of my effort into just building my business, and more so than anything, building my brand, because I knew how important it was. And I started to realize, like, wow, those conversations that I have from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago, from a year ago, they pay so much dividends as time goes on, just because they stick out to people. There's something that people remember, and my brand, who I am as a person, and not to sell myself, but to more so just to be myself in order to attract the people that are going to want to work with me, and then ultimately are going to have I'm going to have a great experience with. So I would say that third year is when things really changed for me. I was fortunate enough to not only have my clients that I was working with and previous clients, but then starting to get some referrals from people that I had worked with. And in this business, referrals is such a huge thing. So, and a great compliment as well too. So third year in, started getting a lot more kind of underneath me, just to be able to be a lot more comfortable in what I was doing. I did a deal in, I believe it was Bound Brook with Kevin Yento. And I remember, if anyone knows Kevin, he is one of the hardest working guys that I know. He's an absolute, monster in this business. At the time, I had no idea who the hell he was. I was just a young up and coming agent, saw the name Kevin Yento, didn't really think twice of it, put an offer in for my clients. Got it accepted. And then, there was a couple of things throughout the transaction that was a little bit rocky, but him and I had talked and we got through with it. But after that, he had, reached out to me, talked a little bit about Coldwell Banker, talked a little bit about, what they had to offer. And at the time, I didn't really know if I was looking to make a move. I was perfectly happy with Keller Williams where I was at. But in the same sense, though, too, I was also open for those conversations, and I was also open to expand, and any opportunities that I could potentially have, I was definitely going to be, okay with the conversation. One thing led to another. Him and I had spoke. It wasn't probably until about like 9 months to 10 months after that initial conversation where I really started to then, a lot was kind of going on, and I really thought, where am I going to fit best? Where will I be able to provide the best for my clients, and also to where will I be able to operate the best as myself and as an agent, and to be able to deliver the best work for my clients. And ultimately, one thing led to another. I wound up working with him and joining Coldwell Banker, and ever since then, it's been a great experience. I've learned so much from not only from him, but just from kind of just like almost like kind of being like in the bleachers, like looking on to this person who is just a master at a craft. And it's just so exciting to see, because then for me, there's two ways to look at it. There's people that could potentially see that and be threatened by that, or be, a little bit envious as far as the amount of business that somebody does. Same exact thing with Jay, because these are both people that are absolute just monsters in their field. And for me, I see that, and I just I get so motivated by it, just because I see what the potential is. And it's not like there's any superpowers that are being done. It's just the consistency, the work, the dedication, knowing how to speak to people, knowing what you need to do, and more importantly, what you don't need to do, and how that's going to translate. So I've taken a bunch of techniques, just a bunch of things, and just try to mold it and make it my own. And I'm learning each and every day. I'm learning each and every year. I normally assess how my year to year goes. I say this not to, this is not like a motivational type of thing by any means, but I say this just because the reality of it is that once I started to invest in myself and in what I was passionate about, knock on wood, luckily, since that switch of 2017, my year-to-year numbers have always gone up, luckily. So going into 2024, I assess 2023 and I say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? How can I do that differently? And that's currently where I'm at. I'm at a place right now where I'm really, really happy. I'm also really excited. I'm motivated. The state of real estate has changed so much since I started, and how much social media and how much these videos and how much there's so many different avenues now to take, and there's so many different ways to talk to clients and ways to deliver information. The other good thing is that I've developed a great network of referrals and people, whether it's lenders, number one, attorneys, inspectors, septic inspection, you name it, homeowners insurance, just a bunch of great people that I have as resources now that I'm able to now deliver to my clients because I've had good experiences. There was nothing worse than referring people in the way beginning that was based off of other people's interactions. And I trusted them, but in the same sense, I like the idea of having these interactions myself, and also being able to make sure that my personal experiences translate to me saying that this is why you should work with them, instead of, hey, this person had a good experience, so this is why you should work with them. So I'm at a point where I'm happy. I'm probably the most motivated that I've been in a very long time. And I'm just excited to, I'm excited to be in this business. I'm excited to look back and see that, that game plan worked. It didn't always seem like it was going to work. And the transition from something that, I felt like I was very, very good in, which was DJing, into, doing something like this for full time. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but luckily it did. And I'm super happy, and I'm super grateful that it did. So that's kind of my real estate journey, my real estate story up to this date. As if you are listening to this, if you've heard the other episodes, there's a lot more to expect when it comes down to this type of content. So, definitely stay tuned for that. And a lot of different things that I kind of have working behind the scenes that, unless you are in the area that I'm working in, you probably won't see, which it's totally fine. But if you are, you'll hopefully be seeing me pop up a lot more. So, thank you for listening. As always, subscribe, tune in, like, comment, do all that type of stuff. If you have anything that you want me to cover, definitely reach out. I think I was talking to Ben before. We're probably going to have guests on the next 2 to 3 episodes. So a lot of cool people that I'm excited to talk to. So as always, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon.